Yo, Asmodai here. I'm now gonna try to break down the handlock mulligan for the different matchups on ladder. It's a deck I feel I have a lot of experience with. I've gotten rank 1 with it several times, and this season I peaked at rank 2. So might as well just start off with the most common matchup, which is against the Shaman. Against Shaman, you should always assume it's aggro Shaman, because A, it's the most common matchup, and B, you are fairly favored against mid Shaman. So keeping that in mind, you want to keep cards that deal with the board early. So I will in general keep Mistress, Mortal Coil, Ooze, Peddler, Doomsayer, Demon Wrath, Imp Gang Boss, Shadow Bolt, Kazakus, and Reno. That's my keep. The mulligan changes a little bit. Obviously you won't keep all of those things if you have all of them. Sometimes maybe you will, but those are the premium drops. And then there's drops that are called supplement drops, which you can consider keeping. Like say, if you're on coin, you have early drops, which I've already mentioned. You can consider keeping Twilight Drake, because you can coin it out, and it's a good body on board. The same thing goes for Blast Crystal Potion. If you have the early game, Blast Crystal Potion is just like really good to have in the backhand, because one way you can get really blown out is their 7-drop. So that is my mulligan against aggro Shaman. I think it's pretty good. I would say that you keep the exact same mulligan against Face Warrior as well. I don't like to keep the Soulfire because it's only situational good and it can harm you sometimes. But Soulfire can also definitely be a good pickup. Good pickup later in the game. Like the questions you guys might ask yourself, okay, why don't keep Dirty Rat? Why not keep Farseer? Farseer just becomes a lot better later in the game. It's more flexible, you know what you want with it. It doesn't really fight for the board. Like that's what you're trying to do early against these aggro decks. You're trying to fight for the board, slow them down, right? So after you've slowed them down, that's when you benefit more from a heal. So keeping in mind that we would pretty much do the same mulligan for aggro Shaman and Face Warrior, we can move on to the mirror matchup. The mirror matchups, I always just tend to look for the 2/4 drops, right? So I'll look for the Twilight Drake and I'll look for the Mountain Giant. Once I have those, or I have one of them, I will contemplate keeping, if I'm on coin, I'll keep Doomsayer, because then I can tap and drop Doomsayer on 3, which generally means that I will get a 4-drop on an empty board. Another good card that I will keep is Emperor, if I have a 4-drop threat, just because Emperor gives you a lot of tempo. It allows you to tap more aggressively, and it also allows you to have overall more efficient turns, which is really important in the matchup. So that is generally the mulligan in handlock. You can consider keeping like a removal card, maybe Blast Crystal Potion, maybe Siphon, if you already have the 4-drops. I am not a big fan of that. I've seen some good players do it, but yeah, it's a consideration to be made for sure. Over to similar matchups. I would say that pretty much same mulligan goes for Priest. You can maybe keep a Shadow Bolt, it helps slow them down. The Twilight Drake is obviously premium. Same concept with Emperor is a little bit different, because No, it isn't actually that important to hit the Draxus now that I think about it, but it's a solid drop. Just go for your 4-drop threats. I think that a Shadow Bolt keep is okay against Priest, just because if they go too fast, they might be able to smork you down, and you're pretty favored in the matchup, so you don't want to let them smork you down. So that means that a Doomsayer keep is also pretty good against Priest. So that's the only cards I would keep against Priest. Doomsayer, Shadow Bolt, Twilight Drake being the absolutely best, Mountain Giant. Same goes for Druid. You look for your 4-drops. Against Druid, I also would say that if you have a 4-drop, you keep the Shambler as well. Just because in the Druid matchup, I do experience that the Druid tends to leave the drops open, which means that the Shambler value is more potent in that matchup than it is in different matchups. But yeah, you just go for the 4-drop threats. If you have that already, I would also keep Emperor. Emperor is super important in the Druid matchup to swing boards, do like combo clears with Shadow Flame and all the jazz that you need to beat the Druids. Like key cards in general in the Druid matchup is PO Shadow Flame, Twisting Nether, the threats. That's how you beat them, is big board clears followed up with development of your own. It's actually a really fun matchup. There is one side note here though. This mulligan is specifically for Jade Druid. So if you know that it's Aviana Druid, I also keep the Rat, and this will gain you, like this will influence your win ratio a lot. You keep the Rat against them, and then you play the Rat around when they're at 9 or 8 mana crystals, and then you pull a combo piece fairly often. Because they have so many cycle cards, they have so many non-minions, and they played a lot of them around then. So then they're just hanging on to the combo pieces. So if you know you're up against an Aviana combo deck, you just keep the Rat in your mulligan as well. Alright, what does that leave us with? It leaves us with Ronald Mage. Against Ronald Mage, I will just... I will actually keep... it's a very interesting mulligan, I've learned this earlier. I will keep Twilight Drake, I'll keep Mountain Giant, I'll keep Emperor, but I will also keep Jiraxus. Against Ronald Mage, the earlier you can get... and when I say Ronald Mage, I mean Reno Mage. The earlier you get into Jiraxus, the better it is. You're generally not at any threat of getting burned down, because they only run 3 burn cards, and you're able to control the board early. So I just like to get Jiraxus down as early as possible. Oops, in that matchup, and you just want to go aggressive with your minions. Try to make them use a burn spell on your minions, and then you feel very safe. Get Kazakus, go for the armor gain. It is the best way in my experience to lock up that matchup. Other win condition, if you don't want to rely on Jiraxus, is just getting resummon potions off of Kazakus, comboing with Bran, building a board with minions, and going for plus HP as well. Very hard for the Ronald Mage to deal with it. Anything Paladin I actually have no experience of playing against at all. It's something that recently has started to gain a little bit popularity, so I wish I knew more. I'm just assuming that you still go for Kazakus, like the big threats you have in your deck. I'm assuming that Kazakus is a little bit more relevant, because you can go for tempo resummons and stuff like that. Against Rogue, you wanna slow down their early pirate start. That's number one. So you keep basically everything that you do against the aggro matchups. They're all good against Rogue. The same as I said in the beginning of the clip. All the stuff to slow down the Rogue, right? Because one of the ways Rogue just wins is just getting an early pirate opener, and you have no way to answer it. However, there is one very sneaky way to deal with Rogue, which is probably the most efficient way to sneak wins. And that is going for... I won't keep the Dirty Rat, but let's say if you get in your mulligan Dirty Rat Soulfire, or if you get in your mulligan Dirty Rat Shadowbolt, I'll keep them both. If you can cheese out an Azure Drake, a Leroy, or an Auctioneer by doing this combination, like you want to remove the threat in the same turn as you play the rat, right? So you're either doing it on turn 3 or maybe on turn 5. It's a really efficient way of slowing down the rogue. And if you kill a Drake or if you kill an Auctioneer, sometimes they don't find the cycle they need. So in an unfavorable matchup, that's a pretty decent tool to beat the rogue. Other than that, key cards in the matchup obviously is Blast Crystal. It's Twisting Nether if you get that far. Generally, if you can make it to the still to turn 8 and you have a Twisting Nether, it's pretty solid. It's not something you keep in the mulligan, obviously. Big mistakes in the matchup is keeping Mountain Giant. You generally never get to tap through to Giant, so I wouldn't do that. You can consider keeping a Twilight Drake on coin if you already have early game, but that's also sort of situational mull. I think I always keep Kazakus, it's super good. The spells you can get off Kazakus are actually game changers, so you always keep that card. Also always keep Reno. Is there anything else? Peddler's Wrist is in general really good. You can get Soulfire, Coil, PO, all of the cards that are pretty decent in the matchup. You don't keep Bran, you don't keep Earthen Ring, don't kill Sunfire. Just the same as an aggro matchup. Last but not least is Control Warrior. If I know it's Control Warrior, I tend to keep Emperor. Emperor and Draxus are just like the most important things to... Actually, the 3 most important cards against Control Warrior is Emperor, Draxus, and Acidic Swampus. The earlier you get into Draxus, the easier the matchup goes. But you need to control the board. You need to make sure that you have an answer for their weapon, and you need to be sure that you have a fair amount of taunts in hand. So it's definitely a hard task, but the way when I beat the Control Warriors, and the Control Warrior matchup has definitely become a lot harder. It is by going early Draxus, Emperor. The threats tend to always be dealt with. Like, yes, it's good to get out of the early Mountain Giant Twilight Drake, but to be honest, they seem to always be dealt with early, so like you can even probably get more value out of them later game when you can Faceless Shambler and they've used some removal, some shitty stuff. So key cards, definitely Draxus, Emperor, Kazakus, maybe get that armor gain. Seems to be the way route against the Warrior, but also Ooze and you hold it for Gorehowl. Like, it's super key. Ooze doesn't go on anything else than a Gorehowl. So I think I've gone through the most common matchups on ladder right now. I look forward to hearing any questions or opinions on the Mulligan guide. I just did this right now off the top of my head, and I hope it can help some of you guys out at least. And when it comes to the list, this is just this list I've been running recently. It doesn't run combo. Combo is most beneficial against in the mirror. It can definitely help give you small margins in other matchups, like where you need to race your opponent, but I feel like replacing the combo just makes this deck overall more consistent against aggro, and running Draxus instead of it allows you to be, I would even claim, favorite to Reno Mages, and I value that more in the meta right now than being able to consistently beat the mirror. So that's the reason why I'm running this list here, which you guys have probably seen enough now. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to be able to show you some gameplay soon. I know it's been a long ass time, so yeah. Again, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.